for Tesla and Starlink.
But I don't,
might China use that against the U.S.?
Well, I think China will try and leverage any business, any person that it can. So if there's a business doing, selling something into China and they can figure out a way to leverage that, they will. In the same way, countries that become dependent on China, whether it's for critical minerals or supply chain, they run the risk that if they violate what China considers to be in their interest, they can get cut off from those materials. The United States has been cut off from certain critical minerals. Other countries have as well, and they will use that leverage. Right now, we're seeing them use the debt leverage in developing nations through the Belt and Road Initiative, where countries become indebted to China and China leverages that against them. So I don't know about Elon Musk. I think he's made a contribution to our reducing spending and waste and fraud and abuse. Whether his business interests, I can't speak to that other than it's important that we recognize the threat from the Chinese Communist Party.
What's the view of the U.S. and your view on AI? Because right now we have a ban on AI chips to China. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has come up to say that it weakens the U.S. position, should that continue, that it empowers Chinese AI players. How do you respond to that?
I don't agree with that. And I think, his goal is to sell chips wherever he can. The technology, he deserves to be commended. What NVIDIA has done is amazing. But we also have to realize that those technologies can be used for purposes that would be directly counter to the national interests of the United States as well as the free world, because China has a dual use process where it can be military, it can be civil use, but ultimately the military dominates. So all those technologies that are being developed can be used for military applications against people who love freedom. And so that's where governments have a role to step in, and it's different than just contributing to the bottom line of an individual or a company.
Chairman Moolenaar, what is the end goal? Is it about not having U.S. chips in China? Is it not having Chinese students in the U.S.? What's the vision? What's the picture? What's the end goal?
I think the end goal is to have a relationship with China that acknowledges the reality that their government is moving in a very different direction than they promised. And we have to reset that relationship. If China were to change course and promote actual peace and be responsible in the world stage, then I think that would be healthy for the whole world. But if they continue down this path, it's going to be a threat to the world. When you look at their close allies of Russia, North Korea, Iran, and the partnerships that they're forming, that is a threat to the entire free world.
Are we looking at a decoupling between the U.S. and China? We know Treasury Secretary Besson says he's not after generalized decoupling, just in areas of critical interest to the U.S.
I think it's an area where we have to be strategic with sectors and make sure that we aren't enriching the Chinese military industrial complex that can have weapons that would be used against us. And so, regular goods that are sold between the two countries, I don't think that's a problem. But when it comes to these critical technologies, AI, advanced batteries, uses for military equipment, I think we need to be strategic and recognize we don't want to see the further buildup of a very aggressive nation.